Hi guys. So I'm so sorry I wasn't on this weekend. We had quite a weekend in the Rochester area. We had a big ice storm scare and we ended up with a little ice, but nothing like, they kept comparing it to the one in 1991 or 1993, whatever it was, where it was like totally disastrous and everybody was out of power for weeks and all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't that. And then I forgot that I had gotten my husband and I tickets to the Walking Dead finale was last night, and the Fear of the Walking Dead premiere was last night, and they did this big event at local, well, at a bunch of movie theaters that do Fathom events. I don't know if you know anything about that, but I love that. And if you don't know about it, go look it up. It's Fathom, Fathom, Fathom events. And they do it at lots of different movie theaters around the country. And it's all kinds of like special events and stuff that are really cheap. Like these tickets were $10 a piece. And we got to watch the finale and the premiere in a movie theater with no commercials. And they had all kinds of extra little footage in there and stuff. It was really cool. So we had a great time, and that was great, but I forgot that, you know, usually on Sunday nights we do our study, so I apologize. Having said that, I am back on today to do the second part of my Thriftbooks haul. The second part came in this weekend, and sorry, I'm just listening to hear if somebody's coming in. So I haven't had much of a chance to look over these books, although a little bit. And the only one I didn't include, I got a book for my son who does tattoos, or is starting to learn how to do, he's like an apprentice to do tattoos, called the Tattoo Bible, and I got it for really cheap from Thriftbooks. But I got 3 other books that are, you know, my pagan-based, earthy kind of books. So, without further ado, I have to say, again, someone on Instagram turned me on to Cassandra Eason, E-A-S-O-N. I had a hair in my mouth. It's driving me nuts. Okay. Who does all kinds of the complete book of this and the complete book of that. And so she's been on my list. And I got the Complete Guide to Fairies and Magical Beings, which is a really good time for this because those of you who follow the Earth-Based Religions Wheel of the Year will know that Beltane is a huge time for the Fae, for fairy work to come out and for you to offer offerings to the Fae. Now, I haven't really done a video on the Fae recently. I think I did quite a while ago, and I will have to do another video on the Fae. There is lots of information about fairy beings and how you work with the fairies. Again, to me, I will reiterate that to me, I don't think of the Fae as an entity. Just like I think of my gods and goddesses, not really as an entity, but as an energy that I work with in the universe. There's all different kinds of energies. And so it puts a face, so to speak, on that energy and allows you to work with that kind of energy. To me, it's much easier to work with that kind of energy. And anything that I can do to pull that energy in, to reflect that energy out. And we know that that law of attraction says that whatever kind of energy you're putting out, that's the kind of energy that you're pulling back in. So if you are doing all these different things to pull in that Fae kind of energy, that's the energy that's coming back to you. So do I think that there's these cute little beings with wings that flitter around and do stuff? No, probably not. But I'm not above thinking that there's magical workings in the universe. And so whatever I have to do out there to work with that energy, I do that. Having said that, the back of this says, Let me get my glasses. Okay, here we go. The back of this says, hang silver bells by an open window, create your own fairy tales, or simply sit quietly in a hawthorn tree or beside a ring of mushrooms and enter another dimension, the magical kingdom of the fairies. Come tour an enchanted world with Cassandra Eason, guide extraordinaire. Your first stop, the myths, legends, and real evidence surrounding the origins and existence of fairies. From there, journey on to secret spots around the world and meet an eclectic assortment of extraordinary characters in all manner of shape, size, and personality. From tooth fairies to Viking giants, selkies to gnomes, fae beings abound, and Cassandra Eason introduces you to them and to the people who have actually seen and talked to them. A complete guide to fairies and magical beings provides you with simple exercises, techniques, and rituals to attract and communicate with the little people yourself and to get in touch with your own mystical qualities. At the end of your trip, review snapshots of all you have learned in the quick reference glossary of fantastical folk. So I feel like I must go back really quickly and talk about an experience that I had a very, 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 very long time ago, because I suddenly realized I don't want it to sound like I don't believe that there are otherworldly beings out there. I just believe that sometimes those otherworldly beings are in a different dimension that we don't normally see. And I'll tell you, I had an experience as a kid, and not as a young kid. I must have been 12 or 13 probably, where you're in that kind of in-between state when you're kind of awake in the middle of the night. You're kind of woken up, but you're still not quite out of that dream state. Where I saw, I don't know how I would describe it now. Maybe it reminds me of, if you've ever seen Labyrinth, it reminds me of one of Brian Froud's characters, kind of a goblin-esque little creature at the bottom of my bed, and he bit my foot. And it terrified me at first. And I woke up, like really woke up, and was, and I still believe I was awake, but, in that kind of in-between where you're kind of seeing both worlds. And I had a mark on my foot. And I showed my mother the mark on my foot, which was kind of in a triangle shape on my foot. So I do believe that there are dimensions out there, that there's creatures that we, can communicate with some, which is why I do believe that some people can communicate with, my son is one who's a medium that communicates with people who have crossed over. I do believe that people have guardians that they have watching over them, be they angels or guardians or whatever you want to call them. So I didn't want to seem like I was dismissive of the fae, because I do believe that they're out there. It's just they're usually in another dimension. And some people, I do think, can tap into that and see them or sense their presence. And that's me. And if you don't, that's fine. It's okay. I'm not saying that that's the way it is. I'm saying that's what I believe. So, having that discussion about fae, let me move on to the second book I got. Has been on my list for a very long time and doesn't come in very often to Thriftbooks. It's an Ida McCoy book. Which I have quite a few of hers, called The Sabbats, A New Approach to Living the Old Ways. This is an older cover. The newer edition is like black, I think, or something. But I have lots of books on the Sabbats, just because I kind of do something a little different every year. And so I take a little bit from this ritual, and I take a little bit from this ritual, and I really like to do my own thing. Sometimes I write my own rituals, but I like to have lots of different ideas, and there's recipes in here and ritual ideas and all kinds of stuff. So I have probably 10, 12 maybe different books that have all the Sabbats in there and have different rituals and that kind of thing for it. So it says, now this was originally published, let me see, 1998, or 1994 actually, and this is the 1998 third printing. And it has been updated, I believe, since then. But so what this says is old ways for new days. As pagans, the Sabbats move us deeply. Our need to be a part of them is paramount to our religious expression, spiritual development, and our general sense of well-being. This book links those deep feelings with satisfying observance of these festivals. Though pagan literature is full of information about the Sabbats, the 8 festival days which mark the solar year, most of these books focus on trying to present an accurate picture of ancient times when pagans came together as a community to acknowledge the changing seasons. That can be frustrating for today's pagans who may have little contact with a larger pagan community, but who still wish to celebrate and feel part of the wheel of the year. Those who do have such contacts often wish to find new ways to express a deeper connection to those seasons. The Sabbats illustrates how the old ways can be easily adapted to fit the lifestyles and specific traditions of today's pagans. This book recognizes the profound spiritual connection you feel to the change of the seasons, and it shows you how to intimately live that connection through meaningful activities in which even non-pagan family and friends can participate. Not only will the Sabbats help you gain the sense of continuity with the past that comes from a deeper expression of the seasons, it provides a firm foundation on which to build cherished celebrations that will become new traditions in the future. So I really liked the ideas and stuff that she has put into this book. She puts group rituals in there. She puts solitary rituals in there. She has all kinds of recipes to make different stuff in there. She has like here, this is for Samhain, making a besom or besom. There's all kinds of information in there. So I usually, like I said, for my Sabbat celebrations, I usually pull out lots of different books and kind of highlight what I'm feeling for that year and pull from a couple different ones to make my ritual. Which when I do ritual, well, I used to do it with all the kids, and now it's usually just me and my husband. And my husband is so great about stuff. He just he's Christian, but he believes in the cycles of the year and nature, and so he has no problem whatsoever with joining in with my celebrations, and I join in with his celebrations too. So yay, it's great to have somebody who, you can connect with even if you believe different things. Lastly, is a book called The Maiden King, The Reunion of Masculine and Feminine by Robert Bly and Marion Woodman. So this, boy, this is a long, yeah, I do want to read it, though, because it seemed like a very interesting. I have a lot of Sacred Feminine books, and there aren't a lot of, there's a few Sacred Masculine, which I have on my list, and I just haven't, because the boys are away, and I connect, obviously, more to Sacred Feminine. I haven't really delved into a lot. I have one, I think, specific book just on Sacred Masculine, but on the masculine energy part of things, although I do a little bit. I do some with Pan. I do a lot with Cernunnos. It's raining again. I just haven't delved into it that much, and this kind of joins the two, and it seemed very interesting to me. So it says, in The Maiden King, 2 wise teachers guide us through the rich metaphorical world of an ancient folktale to explore the possibility of a new relationship between masculine and feminine. Here, both women and men will find a vision of the powerful feminine, an energy our contemporary world has not been able to receive or sustain. In the original Russian story that frames this discussion, the hero is betrayed by his tutor and stymied by his stepmother. Confronted by the intensity of the feminine, the hero falls asleep. As they tell the rest of the story and explore its resonances, Robert Bly and Marion Woodman show how in contemporary life we too cannot conceive or sustain the powerful energy of the feminine. Like the young hero, we too are betrayed by false tutors in the educational system and held in the thrall of possessive stepmothers throughout our culture, and we too fall asleep. The powerful feminine, grounded in the divine, does not always wait for the masculine to wake up. It has its own life. The story says that the goddess takes the love that she once had for the masculine and buries it in a series of containers. The containers in the story include the oak, the hare, and finally the egg, all images traditionally rich in spiritual meaning. This is not a tale of bravado and success then, but rather one of failure and repair. It is about listening first and then doing. Unlike Joseph Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is an incredible book. I don't know if you read any of Joseph Campbell, but he is awesome and I love him, as well as Young. This hero does not rescue, but is rescued. The first step on his journey is to visit Baba Yaga, the fierce old woman of Russian folk tradition who forces him to go beyond adversarial thinking and to dig down into the deeper, messier mysteries of life. This book presents a map of the sorrow both men and women feel today in relation to each other, and it provides a guide to their eventual reconciliation. The steps of reunion are not laid out in a sociological language, but rather in the ancient language of metaphor, which retains an astonishing color and vividness. Ultimately, by the end of The Maiden King, both masculine and feminine find a place of intersection where they can discard their false projections of each other. The story says that none of this reunion or reconciliation of men and women can be done without Baba Yaga, the one who both feeds and eats, a figure whom the church has kept out of our mythology for centuries. The Maiden King will be read for decades as a daring investigation of themes that lie beneath the surface of our culture, laying out new ways of moving towards maturity. So again, that kind of stuff, that mythology work, and that I probably should have been like an archaeologist or something like that. The history and myths and that kind of thing of the old ways is what probably drew me to this religion more than anything. And so I am very interested in going backwards in order to come forward later on. Carl Jung, I love, right? Reading a lot about Carl Jung. And Joseph Campbell, who, talks about the hero's journey, which to me is like the fool's journey in the tarot. And like, every hero movie we have, there's a book out there that's a great book, and I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's about Steven Spielberg. Whew! Sorry, back up. My geek mask has been taken away from me for that. George Lucas. It's about George Lucas. Really following Joseph Campbell's hero's journey for Star Wars, and how it is like down to the everything that happens is like the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks about. So if you're interested in that stuff, I would highly recommend Joseph Campbell, and Carl Jung's work too is great for shadow work and that kind of stuff. So yay, under 20 minutes for 3 books. I'm so sorry. I'm just such a yabber. I hope you guys are having a great week. I have a couple other videos. Oh, I have a VR that I want to do from Brian Cormac Carr, which is wonderful. If you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out. It's really delves really deep and has made me really think about a lot of these questions. So I'm excited to do that. I may start some of that today too. Blessings. Hope you guys are having a great week.